They say a sucker's born every minute. That's a sucker's bet. Working the 40-40-40 plan. 40 hours a week, 40 years of their life to retire on less than 40% of what they currently can afford to live on. They don't invest in working on themselves. They don't invest in that emotional intelligence, adaptability. They don't surround themselves with the right people. The world in 2021 there's a whole different set of rules in this world here today. What's up, guys? Welcome to another Driven Not Given episode. And in this episode, I'm hanging out with my buddy, KD. I've known this guy for over a decade. We got a lot in common. We're both martial artists, entrepreneurs, family men. And I'm excited to have my buddy here. We're going to talk about some interesting things, something that's trending right now, which is the Paul brothers, right?
Yes, exactly.
The Paul brothers are trending, and there's a lot on the business side that we can learn from this. So with that being said, let me introduce you guys to my man, the myth, the legend, Mr. KD. What's up, my brother?
Hey, what's up, man?
Good to see you, man.
Man, thanks a lot, bro. Thanks a lot for inviting me out here, man.
Thanks, man.
Been excited, congratulations on this podcast, man. I've been listening and watching also. So
thank you, man.
Yeah, man. Congratulations.
Well, you've always supported me, man, throughout the years, man. And
definitely.
different, we've been involved in different ventures and stuff. And but one of the things that me and you always chop it up about, you're one of the guys, man, that you're always my dog, man.
Yes.
You come over to my house and stuff. We hang out, we watch the fights and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I got to get my man KD on the podcast because we got to chop it up about these Paul brothers. I know that you not only notice the business side of things, the fight side of things, but you also notice the business side of things. Yes. And let's face it, these brothers, man, love them or hate them, they got a lot of eyeballs on them. They're doing something right.
Yes, I do hate him, but then again, I do love them for what they're doing. They're changing the game.
Right.
So, I mean, what could you say, right? Everybody wants to get paid, and they're doing it a different way. So,
yeah, man. It's for a long time I just would hear them in the background, hear of them in the background, never paid attention to them. When I really started paying attention to them was when they started boxing. And, we're going to dive right into this information, right? Because here's one of the things that I found interesting, KD. Some other YouTubers in another country, in the UK, started boxing. KSI, and he boxed some other dude. I don't know who the hell the other dude is.
I don't even know either.
Yeah, I didn't even know who KSI was.
I didn't. Yeah, same thing.
But I heard of this boxing stuff, and then what happened is that KSI goes out there and calls out both Paul brothers. He calls out Jake Paul, Logan Paul. He says any of the Pauls, even the dad, right?
But even I didn't even know that. I mean, when he called out the older brother, who is Logan Paul, right? I didn't even know that the little brother also boxed. So that's also an interesting part. And I only heard about Jake was when he called out Conor McGregor.
Yeah. So you heard of him recently,
yes?
Right? Because what happens is he calls him out. Long story short, these dudes accept. They figured, hey, we're two former wrestlers. Let's face it, these kids are athletes.
Yes,
right?
they are. Yeah.
There's no question about it. These boys are athletes. I now do consider them amateur fighters. Good, decent.
Yes.
I'm not going to say good. I'm going to say decent amateur fighters. And a lot of the things that they're doing are very smart. And I can't wait to dive into these things. But think about it. That goes to show, because I've got here some of the things I want to talk about. I want to talk about their careers. I want to talk about the Logan Mayweather fight. I want to talk about Jake Paul, again, some of his former opponents, and now Tyron Woodley. But what can we learn from them, right? And we're going to get into some of the things that we can learn from these guys and some of the moves that they're making.
Yes.
We just shot a podcast that was actually released this morning with my buddy Mo Rock. Shout out to Mo. And one of the things he talked about is how in the West, we value IQ a lot instead of things like EQ, right? AQ, meaning emotional intelligence, adaptability, intelligence. And these boys, man, when you see what's happening, like, did you hear of Logan Paul and how he went to Japan and he filmed some dude that committed suicide?
Yeah, I heard that, yes.
Okay. So that was bad for him. His career was almost over. The dude was able to adapt. He apologized. Whether that was sincere or not, I think it was. But whether that was sincere or not, he was able to adapt and overcome. And it was some tough times. And that just goes to show, man, sometimes we see people that seem to be very successful, like they have it all. Yeah. But if you look at some of the videos, and he has a documentary out, I looked at part of it. He was genuinely depressed for a while, man.
Yeah, but also you gotta know too. Even though he did all that, he has the right people behind him that helped him get to where he's at. I mean, I don't know if he talks a lot about that or not, but usually sometimes when people get down, if they have a good support system,
right,
they come right back.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and he definitely. I mean, not only that, with that kind of money, right?
Yeah, of course.
You could buy the right people behind you, right, and stuff. And now money won't do everything, but money is certainly help out, right? Yeah. But one of the things, for example, we're talking about here is their boxing career, right? So they got started, they got called out. Logan lost a fight to KSI. KSI's little brother challenged Jake Paul. Jake Paul won that fight, and in their career, Jake Paul's been a lot more successful. I mean, Logan Paul just fought this weekend, and he held his own against Mayweather. You know, I give it to him.
Well, you know, I mean, if you want to call it that, you know, you know, other people could say otherwise. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some people felt they got ripped off because it was just basically a sparring match. I think it was. Right. You know, if I like I was telling you, I watched the fight over again, and as you know, as true combat sports analysis, you could say, right? He wasn't really throwing a real punch, you know. The whole time he was throwing it like this instead of straight jabs and crosses, you know.
Yeah, I mean, he is an amateur still, right? Yeah. But I mean, including myself, I thought Mayweather was going to finish him in 5 rounds.
Everybody thought so, you know.
So and Mayweather tried to finish him though. That's the thing. Mayweather was going after it, right? And I think, you know, Paul fought a great fight as much as his abilities and his experience allow him to, right? Yeah. He was hanging on him a lot, right? In the beginning, he was sticking his jab out and whatnot and stuff. So he fights Mayweather, but then now let's look at Jake Paul, because I believe that Jake Paul's been doing a significantly better job. Right?
Yes. He's been, I believe, I mean, before Mayweather, I think Jake Paul actually got better opponents than his brother. Yeah. Because if you could name a real fighter, which is Mayweather, that's the only one he has on there. Because if he didn't have Mayweather, I mean, who else did he fought besides the YouTuber fighters that I know of?
No, for sure. Look, he's a YouTuber and he started fighting YouTubers, and okay, that's accepted. Yeah. But after a while, you know, let's look at it from the business point of view. After a while, from the business point of view, okay, you're fighting YouTubers, great. In the beginning, it's going to be like you're going to draw attention because it's something new. But after a while, it's not really very entertaining. There's not a lot of skills involved.
It becomes a gimmick.
It becomes a gimmick, right? So if he wanted to stay relevant, you know, I'm talking about Jake Paul, Logan too. Yeah. If they wanted to stay relevant, they had to step up their competition. So he did step it up. He went from YouTubers to then fighting Nate Robinson. Why do I say he stepped it up? Nate wasn't a boxer.
Who did Jake fought the first fight?
Jake fought some YouTuber.
Okay, yeah. See, that's the reason why. See, we didn't know that, right?
Yeah, right.
We only caught on when he fought Nate Robinson. Right. You know, and that's what. Yeah, that stepped him up. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people thought Nate's going to beat him up because Nate's a real athlete. Matter of fact, Nate said that. Nate said, "I'm going to beat you because I'm an athlete." So he knocks out Nate. And here's the thing, that's one of the things that people need to understand, right? And whatever your craft is, you don't get good at something by not doing it, right? Nate is a great athlete, but he got on a training camp to fight Jake Paul. Guess what? Jake Paul had been training for a couple of years already.
I believe, 2-3 years?
2-3 years, man. And the kid he's been dedicated, man. So what happens is that he now goes out there, and he starts training. He knocks out this dude. Okay, great. So you went from YouTubers, you stepped it up to an athlete. Now what? So now he calls out Ben Askren.
The guy who retired.
But not only that, man. There probably was not a better pick than Ben Askren. This is on the business. So now we're getting into the business side of things. Yeah. If I'm Jake Paul's manager, and I say, who are we looking for? Fine, let's try to find you a fighter. But let's find you a fighter, maybe a Gracie Jiu-Jitsu guy with no stand-up, maybe a wrestler with no stand-up, and even better, so let's say I made a list. Okay, who is the ideal fighters? Maybe some Jiu-Jitsu or wrestlers with no stand-up. Maybe some really old guy that's over the hill and has a glass jaw now, right? Yep. What if we find it all together? So Ben Askren retired. He just had hip surgery, right? He was a wrestler. His boxing was terrible. That dude couldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, right, with his fist.
Because the last fight that he got his butt whooped by, what's his name again?
Masvidal knocked him out with
before that, when he debuted at UFC.
Robbie Lawler.
Lawler straight beat him down. Yes. And how did he win? A ground game.
He won with a ground game, right? But if you look at that fight, right, if I'm this dude's manager, when I saw that they called out Ben Askren, it was interesting to me because even the MMA community, like Chael Sonnen and different people, were giving Ben a shot. A lot of people are saying Ben's going to beat him because Ben's fought there. Yeah, but Ben never fought with his hands. Ben always relied on his wrestling and his ground game. But the thing is, on the business side, you got an incredible resume. Ben was a champion of Strikeforce. He was a champion of Bellator. He was a champion of One.
Yep.
And then he fought, in the UFC as well.
Yep.
So now your resume can say, hey, man, I'm fighting a 3-organization MMA champion, right? Who fought some of the top strikers in the world.
Exactly.
I'm really so for the casual that doesn't know any better, right? They're thinking, hey, man, this guy's a real deal.
Yes.
Then on top of that, he knocks him out. It's funny. You were dropping me off at the airport when the fight was happening.
Exactly.
Remember?
Yeah.
My family and I were going to Florida, and you dropped us off.
As I thought I was going to get back and sit down and watch the fight, maybe catch a couple of later rounds, and by the time I know it, they say, hey, he got knocked out already.
First round knockout, I think it was, right?
It was, yeah.
And so, but now, as a fan, I didn't appreciate it because I'm like, bro, come on. You fought this old dude, retired, with no hands, could never box. If you would have fought him in an MMA fight and beat him there, I understand. But the point is the business side. Yes. So far with Jake Paul's career, they've done a great job. They handpick the people at the right time in their career, at the right time when they're not in a contract, in this case. But now he's stepping it up to Tyron Woodley, bro.
Yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, as we know, Tyron Woodley has a couple wins of knocking people out. Mm-hmm. So I think he has more of a better chance than, Ben, because name a knockout that Ben won in the UFC. I mean, not UFC, but MMA.
In his career, never.
Never.
Not once.
But then you look at
Tyron Woodley.
Tyron
Woodley can crack.
Yes, exactly. Yep.
And that's the thing that Jake is now between a rock and a hard place. He can't go back and fight YouTubers.
No,
because can't. Now it's one of those things, man, that it's hard to justify that. You can't justify it.
I just seen, man, I forgot the name, but he has a good friend, another YouTuber. I just watched it on YouTube. He's calling that he basically he's hanging around with Tyron Woodley.
Oh, is that right?
And he's trying to call out Jake also. He said, hey, after you get done with Tyron Woodley, we could get in the ring. So he's trying to start something. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know how that's going to go because, like you said, you can't go backwards now. You know
what
I mean?
If he gets knocked out, then he could justify probably going backwards, right? Like, hey, but I don't see him humbling himself and saying, hey, man, you know what? I bit off more than they could chew. Now, don't get me wrong. By me saying this about Tyron Woodley, that doesn't mean that I'm picking Tyron Woodley to win, to be honest with you. There's a mosquito here. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that Tyron Woodley's going to win. I'm not saying he's not going to win. Mm-hmm. What I am saying is that Tyron Woodley is on a 4-fight losing streak.
Yep.
He just got cut from the UFC.
Yep. And he's 40 years old.
Okay. And he hasn't looked like the Tyron Woodley of old, but nevertheless, he was a 5-time UFC champion, bro.
Yes, he is.
So for the resume, Jake Paul, listen, I don't really like Jake Paul, man. I don't hate the guy, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But I have to now he's earned a lot of my respect because now he's fighting a legitimate tough guy. A legitimate fighter that can crack, that has knocked people out.
He has enough, balls to call out a real fighter. Right, you know what I mean? Because I was even thinking when he called out Ben, I was thinking like you were saying, like he was basically calling out like a jiu-jitsu fighter, right? Mm-hmm. I was also thinking another fighter that he could have called, but he probably doesn't have a big name like Ben, because Ben actually had that one big fight when he got knocked out with that flying knee from what's his name?
Masvidal.
Yeah, Masvidal, right?
That's right.
I was also thinking like, damn, what if he would have called out like Jake Shields? You know what I mean?
Right,
Jake Shields, another one.
That would have been Jake Shields has no hands.
No hands, right?
Jake Paul can beat Jake Shields.
But he's also,
but you know what it is too, though? Jake Shields hasn't been relevant recently.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
So that's why Ben Askren was still relevant recently. That's why it makes sense. Yeah. Tyron Woodley just got released from the UFC. That makes sense. That's why Dana White is so pissed off. Dana White's like, stop calling out my fighters, because now he's not going out there calling out, you know what I mean, Luke Rockhold and, people that can really bang, that are big like him. He's calling out smaller dudes, right? Mm-hmm. Just like Logan Paul, calling out Mayweather for a couple of reasons. But one of the advantages is that Mayweather's so small, right? He could hang on him, and he did, right?
It looked real. He looked real small compared to Logan.
It looked like Rocky 3 when Rocky was fighting Hulk Hogan in Rocky 3, man. Yeah. Did you see that fight, Jay? When he was fighting Hulk Hogan, man.
Yeah.
But watch, one of the things this is one of the number one things I wanted to address. Hear me out. these MMA fighters need to learn how to do business better.
Yes.
Here's why. In the negotiation. Here's what Jake Paul always does. He did this to Ben Askren. I don't know if he did it to prior opponents, but he did it to Ben and he did it to Tyron. Yes. He tells him this, which is bullshit. If I was his manager, I'd coach him up. And anyways, but watch this. He tells a fighter, tell you what, you're so confident you could win, put up your purse. If you beat me, I double your purse. Mm-hmm. Now he's big leaguing them. So from the gate, he's big leaguing them.
Yes.
Right? Now you're not controlling the scenario because you're getting big leagued, right? In addition to that, he says, if you win, put up your purse. If you win, I double your purse. Mm-hmm. But if I win, you donate your purse to the charity.
Yeah.
So now he's kind of looking good. Like, hey, I'm going to donate this dude's money to the charity, right?
Yes.
But here's what happens, though. What these guys always do, Ben Askren says, I'll consider. Mm-hmm. And then Tyron Woodley just says, I'm going to knock your ass out. I'm going to knock you out. I'm going to knock you out, whatever. What he should have done is said, all right, bet. Let's do that. But you're not going to double my purse.
Yep,
we fight for purses.
Exactly.
We go purse for purse. Not if I knock you out, but when I knock you out, I get your purse and my purse. If you beat me or knock me out or beat me in any way, you can do whatever you want with my purse. Let's fight for purses. Mm-hmm. Guess what? All of a sudden, you're calling Jake's bluff. Jake, this is a tactic of negotiation. Now you're calling Jake's bluff, and Jake is like, oh, shit. Because guess what? Now, what is it to Jake to double your purse? It's nothing. So now, if you were to accept that weak-ass offer, now you got a bunch of additional pressure because fuck, now I really got to win because if not, I'm going to do all this shit for free.
Yeah,
and guess what? Training camps cost money, bro.
Yep. Training camps, trainers.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that's a weak-ass bet from the beginning. That's they say a sucker's born every minute. That's a sucker's bet. But to not even counter it, because let's face it, I look at some of the negotiations, some of the deals that some of these MMA fighters do, some of the business moves, the fact that they don't set themselves up for retirement, all kinds of stuff like that, and I cringe.
Yeah, but you got to remember that these guys are fighters, though. Right. I mean, you got to remember, Jake he's doing this as a business also. Right. He's an entertainer.
Yep.
So he's probably mapping the whole thing out. And then you get a fighter like Tyron Woodley who comes in. He only want to do one thing: is finish his fight and get paid. He's not thinking about no negotiation and nothing like that.
But the thing is, that's my point. They should.
Yeah, I know they should.
It's a business. You're in the hurt business, right? But don't just focus on the hurt. You've got to focus on the business side. And a lot of these guys, like, unfortunately, I look at Diego Sanchez now, right? He had an illustrious career. He was on the first season of The Ultimate Fighter. He doesn't have much to show for it right now, and most don't. Most end up that way.
I mean, for the prime example, you don't even have to talk about fighters. Look at athletes.
Right.
NFL players, NBA players.
Right.
They're broke after 3 years after they retire.
Yeah. Even the average lottery winner, man. The average lottery winner is broke 3 or 4 years after they win the lottery. That's because they have a broke mindset. They don't invest in working on themselves. They don't invest in that emotional intelligence, adaptability. They don't surround themselves with the right people. Yep. But here's what I would love for Tyron to done. Say, I accept your bet, but I'm going to up it even better. Fuck that. Let's fight for purses, straight up. Now you put the pressure on him. Now you call him a bitch because now what Jake is doing, he's calling Tyron,
Yeah, like, because he's in charge of the conversation. He's in charge of the talk. So what was that saying? He who controls the conversation wins that conversation, right?
Yeah, the person who's asking the questions is controlling the conversation.
Yeah, so that's what he's doing.
Right, yeah.
So all Tyron could answer was, I beat your ass.
That's right. Now, and check this out. And you could even play it safe because, look, there's a bunch of very rich MMA fans. There's fans out there that are betting on Tyron that say, Tyron, you better knock this fool out. And they're betting money on Tyron. Tyron could literally go and say, if I was Tyron, I'd say, look, Tyron, here's what you do. In a press conference, you make him this offer. Hey, man, I got an offer for you. Let's fight for purses. Like in a game of poker, we put it all in. When I knock your ass out, I take everything. If you if I slip on a banana peel and your ass beats me, you take my purse. You do whatever you want with it. Take it or leave it. What's up? Then all of a sudden you got, oh shit.
That's pressure.
That's a pressure, right? Now you're big leaguing him.
Yep.
Now, not only that, this is a mental game the entire way. Yep. So now you got this mental game going into this deal, right?
It's like almost saying like, okay, well, let's do this. We'll take the whole purse. So now you're making him feel like, yo, this guy could literally, I think this guy could knock me out because he's basically saying I'm taking the whole purse. Yep. So now that plays a little mental on Jake, and Jake was like, oh, snaps.
Now, you got a 5% chance that Jake takes that bet. I don't think so. I think it's less than a 5% chance, but here's what I would do if I was Tyron's manager. I'd say, here's the deal, Jake. Let's say he's making $1 million for the fight, right? I don't know, but let's just say a cool $1 million. Here's what, Theo, I could get you a $500,000 guaranteed. Here's why. Now you hit the phones. You go out there and you gather some money. You find some rich guys and say, hey, here's the deal, man. This is a bet. If Tyron wins, he makes $1 million. But if Jake accepts this bet, he's not making $1 million. He's making $10 million because he's taking the whole purse.
Yes.
You, Mr. Rich Guy, we're going to give you 20% of that purse, $2 million. But what you have to do is you got to put up Tyron's $1 million guarantee. So if Tyron were to lose, he gets $1 million. So you already think Tyron's going to win, right? Yes. Okay, great. So you think Tyron's going to win? You put up $1 million as a guarantee for Tyron. Tyron, hey, here's the deal, bro. Go knock his ass out. Don't worry about it. You train, put the pressure on his ass, fight for purses. If you lose, I pay you the $1 million. It's all good.
Yeah.
But see, there's got to be something in it. You're not just going to put $1 million for nothing. So if the purse is $10 million, the total purse is $10 million. Hey, man, Mr. Backer, when I beat this motherfucker's ass, you take $2 million, I take $8 million. So we double your investment. You think I'm going to win anyways. You're getting 2-to-1 odds or whatever the odds need to be. If the odds need to be a little bit more, right? 2.5 times, 3 times. But the numbers make sense. The thing is that people don't know how to do business. I doubt anybody's doing that. But it starts from the beginning in the negotiation table. In the negotiation table, they already lost. And then also not only that, when you don't accept it, what's his name? Jake knows that's a sucker's bet. But even though he knows that's a sucker's bet, he also knows when he doesn't accept, it makes him a little bit more confident.
Yeah, exactly. Because if he's saying, hey, let's do this, right? And I'm not saying, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? Then he goes, oh, this guy really thinks, you know what I mean? Like he could really beat me. Right. So that will play in Tyron's head like, this guy's putting up this money because he thinks he could beat me.
That's right.
But Tyrone's not saying, hey, all right, let's do it.
Yes, man.
You know what I mean? So since he didn't say that, Jake has an upper hand.
Right.
Now he's playing 100%. Into Tyrone's head.
Yes. Now, the good thing about Tyron is that he's not acting weak in the conversation. You know, he's right there face to face, and he believes he's going to win, right? Yeah. Of course, there's always doubt, but he believes he's going to win, and he probably is, right? Again, I wouldn't necessarily bet on the fight because I feel like, I don't know, man. To me in the past, Tyron, you know, talking on the MMA side, Tyron seems like to have a glitch in his armor on the mental shit. In his last fight against Luque, he looked good. He sprinted hard, and then he got caught, right? But so anyways, but I wouldn't necessarily bet on it. But the other thing that I want to mention is this. All of this money that the Paul brothers are making is way bigger money than what UFC fighters are making.
Way bigger.
Way bigger.
Yes.
You got people now complaining, and Jake Paul isn't helping it because Jake Paul's calling out Dana White. He's saying, hey, Dana White, pay your fighters. You should pay John Jones to fight, Ngannou, $10 million each, plus pay-per-view, blah, blah, blah. See, that's another smart tactic that he's doing because guess what? He's now on the MMA headlines.
Yep.
He's got MMA fighters with hundreds of thousands of followers retweeting it. He's got them following him. He's got them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, who's this kid? He's not even a real fighter, right? Right. You know, he's just a YouTube, social media, and he's calling out real fighters, calling out real organizations, right? And he's going up to the top. He's calling out Dana White.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's no kind of consequences yet, you know. Right. So now you get all these UFC fans, right? And MMA fans watching, hoping this kid gets knocked out so he could shut up.
That's right.
Right? But until then, all these fans is going to go and purchase his pay-per-view. All these guys are going to go there. At the end of the day, whether Jake loses or win, he just made all that money of all the people that was want to see that knockout, that loss.
That's right. And, you know, people criticize fighters like Ben Askren. They criticize fighters like Tyron Woodley for taking that fight. But think about it. Tyron Woodley's going to make more money in this fight by fighting a kid, a YouTuber, who can't really hurt him that bad like he could in the UFC, right? I mean, yeah, he could catch him very clean, but the damage potential is minimal compared to anything else. And you're going to get paid triple what you've ever been paid, probably more than that, what you've ever been paid
in any of his main events.
Right.
You know what I mean?
For half of a fight, because boxing's not even a real fight. It's half of a fight, right? He's used to a real full fight, right? But now you got people, for example, I saw that Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, tweeted, how come and I'm paraphrasing big time, but basically saying, how come these YouTubers are making $10 million per fight? What are we doing wrong? And here's the thing. I understand that, and people that don't understand business will read that and say, that's true. What are you doing wrong? Well, here's the deal. You don't have 16, 20 million followers. You don't move the needle the way these cats do. Just like in the job world, right? That's why I love entrepreneurship and I love sales, because it's an equal opportunity, right? Just because you've been with a company for 5 years or 10 years doesn't mean that you deserve to be paid more than I do in the entrepreneur world. See, in a traditional job, that may be the case. That's why that system is broken. That's why people go, working the 40-40-40 plan, 40 hours a week, 40 years of their life to retire on less than 40% of what they currently can afford to live on.
That's why the supervisors work less than the regular employees. You know what I mean? So but they get paid more.
Right. So now these cats are complaining, but a YouTuber who's not a real fighter doesn't matter. If I'm Showtime, if I'm HBO, if I'm Triller, if I'm DAZN or whatever, the ESPN, and this dude that's not a real fighter is going to a boxing match, bring me, 1 million buys, 2 million buys versus a MMA champion is going to bring 500,000, I'm going to pay this dude a lot more money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the UFC pays their fighters what they should pay their fighters. I don't. I think UFC fighters are underpaid. But part of the reason why is because, I don't know, man, I think part of the reason why is that on the business side, there's just not very savvy people on the business side.
Like, let's take it for example, right? Like you said, like working a regular job, right? You work for an employee and you hopefully, when you retire, you think, hey, the companies take care of me, right?
Right.
Most likely, they're not going to take care of you. They're going to take care of their company, right?
Yep.
So you have to go outside and find your own investment, find your own retirement, because you're doing that for yourself. The company's not going to do that. UFC is almost the same way, right? UFC is going to look out for their organization, right?
Yes.
So that's why they was talking about having lifetime healthcare, right? With the UFC fighters.
That's right.
Talking about when they retire, they get lifetime. So they're still working on that. But if you think about it, right? UFC is there for them. You know what I mean? They're not. So the fighters have to look outside the box to find promoters and managers that will look out for them business-wise, more sponsorships, more like look at it, the proof is in the pudding, right? Like look at Conor McGregor. How did he get to how he get, right? He went outside the box. He was just not a UFC fighter, just not a champion.
He sold his whiskey company too, right?
Yeah.
Probably sold for at least 100 million.
Yeah, look at Ronda Rousey. You know what I mean? She even though she got done with UFC, she went over to WWE. She has all these other sponsorship, right? Now I want you to compare those two, Conor McGregor and Ronda, right? Now look at the other fighters. What have all the other champions, all the fighters done?
Yeah, man, it's about getting eyeballs, and the reason why these Paul brothers are so rich now and so it's because they're so famous, right? And they just went out there consistently and they understood a trend a lot earlier than the majority of the people, right?
Yeah.
Which is the world and the eyeballs and attention is moving to social media. Yeah. So for example, we don't live in the world of commercials on TV anymore.
Nope.
I have a DVR. If I'm going to watch a show, I'm not watching any commercials, right? Now, but that advertising had moved to social media. So these dudes did that. That's why Kobe Covington, Conor McGregor, these guys, Kobe Covington, for example, right? For those of you guys that don't know, Kobe Covington is an MMA fighter, UFC fighter, but he was irrelevant.
Yeah, he was going to get cut at one point.
They told him, hey, listen, regardless, in this next fight, whether you win or you lose, you're gone. So what he did is he won, then he cut a sick promo, which I don't agree with, but he started dogging and talking bad about Brazilians, right?
Yeah, he started wearing cheap suits and
then,
become political.
Right.
Yeah.
But he created this whole character. Guess what? His viewings went up, his followers went up, his paycheck went up. He got a shot at the title, which he lost. Now he's getting a second shot at the title. Why? Because we live in the world where people's attention is on their phone. The average person, bro, how many hours does the average person spend on their phone every day? Probably 5 hours or more.
Yeah.
5 hours or more on their phone. That's where they're at. The content is there, right? And so it's the adaptability, intelligence. And that's what these boys did. See, for example, Here's another lesson to learn from the Paul brothers, which I kind of talked about this earlier. They didn't pick boxing. Boxing picked them.
Exactly.
KSI challenged these guys. They fought, then they realized, hey, man, there's money here. They took that train. What is that? The adaptability, intelligence that most people don't. Most people worry about in the Western world, in the traditional school system, about IQ, right? About their intelligence there and about grades there. That stuff right there that we've been taught for so long is not the stuff that works in the world in 2021. The world in 2021 there's a whole different set of rules in this world here today. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's a new generation now.
That's
and
right.
They think different. Look at the kid Ryan, right? You know what I'm saying? Making millions off of that.
My son watches him.
He wouldn't, my nieces never watches him. Everybody know who he is, right? He has that big deal with Target, right? And Walmart with his toys and stuff. And I mean, that's crazy, what man. The world's going to, you know?
My son watches him, not so much right now. Then he used to watch Blippi. He still likes him, but he just doesn't watch it that much. And so, but now, for example, he's all into Mario. He tells us about these Mario toys, right? And then where did he see them? He saw them on YouTube.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's where the world is going to, man. But there's a lot to be learned from these Paul brothers. Hey, they're doing a good job. Good for them. I just wish that more people were wise. And one of the messages that I would give to fighters when they're in their peak, right? There's a lot of fighters in the UFC. They have 100,000 followers. If you have 100,000 followers and you're on primetime TV, that could be a catapult to take you into some big ass fucking business. For example, you got guys in the UFC, they're going to be retired in the next 1 to 3 years. If these guys got into and started their own business, let's say a real estate business or a solar business or whatever the case may be, with all of these followers while they're in their prime, they could start setting themselves up for the future, right?
Yes, exactly.
If you don't know this shit, who cares if you don't know this shit? Guess what? Go find some people that know this shit. Spend some time with them and figure it out, but capitalize on the fact that, hey, listen, that 15 minutes of fame doesn't last that long. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's going to be gone, and it's very sad to see a lot of these guys. You know, one of the people that comes to mind is Chris Lieben. I saw that he retired, and then he went into real estate. I don't know if that's still what he does, but too many people don't go and make the right moves, especially in the prime of their career. Now, I get it. They're very focused and whatnot in what they do, but, you know.
Yeah, you got to think of how you're going to retire, right? You got to always have an exit strategy. That's basically what it is, an exit strategy, right?
That's right, man.
Just like we were talking about, most people that work a regular job, you know, once they retire, you know, it's like, what do I do now?
That's
you know
right.
what I mean? Because all their life is whatever, you know, job they was doing. They only know how to do one thing and one thing only.
That's right.
So when they retire, they're left with nothing to do.
So this question is, who do you got, brother? Jake Paul, Tyron Woodley?
It's entertainment, man. So when money plays a big part of it, it could be just like that fight with Mayweather and his brother. You know, it could be another sparring match.
No, but don't you think that they're gonna fight? They're gonna fight. They're gonna try to fight each other, or do you think it's bought? Do you think it's?
I truly think, since money's involved, is entertainment, it could be a way where they could talk it out behind the scenes to hype up the business. Just think about it, right? If you was Jake and I was,
right,
you know, we'll go back and we'll talk about, hey, listen, bro, let's build this up, right? But let's not really hurt each other, because if you really knock me out, bro, guess what? My career's over, right? If I knock you out, my career's over. Why don't we just have a sparring match, bro? And we still walk out.
You think
winners.
so, huh?
I think so. I mean, that's a smart thing to do. If you was in that position, what would you do?
No, if I was in that position, I'd knock that motherfucker out. I wish I could fight Jake
because
Paul.
You think about it, if you don't knock him out, your career could keep on going, making more money.
Yeah, but I mean, the one that's at jeopardy more is Jake Paul if he loses, and
you think
it would
so?
be no, actually,
because now
think about it, bro. Why would Tyron want to throw that fight? Now you're gonna say you got beat by a YouTuber, bro.
No, not beat. You know, because, you know, you got to remember, I don't know if they're going to set it up the same way like they did with the Mayweather fight, where there's no winners at the end. Nobody hands get raised unless somebody gets knocked out.
You know what? No, I don't think it's going to be that way. See, that is a way because Mayweather wants it to be that way. But Tyron Woodley and this dude, they're going to have a professional sanctioned fight.
Okay.
So that's
so
shit's going on the record.
Judge and everything. Okay.
That's going on the record, bro. And I just don't see. I don't see. Look, if I analyze the entire thing, it's not good for Jake to lose, and it's not good for Tyron to lose. If Tyron loses, he lost to a Disney YouTuber.
Yep.
Disney kid YouTuber. And he's a former UFC champion. Matter of fact, it's not good for the UFC either.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So then, and if Jake loses, he could justify better.
Yeah, he could be like, hey, listen, I lost to a real fighter.
Right.
You know what I mean? I caught him out. I tried my best, but hey, it's back to the drawing boards.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
He can justify it a lot better and rebound a lot better than now. Everybody's going to be telling what's his name. You imagine his future opponents, Tyron. Man, you got beat by a YouTuber. What do you think you're gonna? How do you think you stand a chance with me, man? He's forever gonna get mocked.
Yeah.
That's why. But anyways, so if you have to pick, it's a real fight. Who do you got, bro? Tyron Woodley.
Yeah.
No hesitation.
Oh, no hesitation.
Damn,
overhand right, bro. Taking deep waters.
Let me tell you something. Right. I want Tyron to win.
Okay.
I'm not saying I think Tyron's gonna lose or win, or Jake Paul. I don't know yet. So I'm going to reserve that answer. But I got to tell you, man, as much as it pains me to say, and seeing Tyron lately, I think what's his name? Jake can get him, bro.
You think he can get him?
I think he's going to fight long with his jab. And he's going to fight really smart, long rights, lefts and rights. And he can crack him. Now, don't get me wrong. If we see the Tyron Woodley of old that's able to close a distance fast and be explosive.
What if his game plan was to walk up on Jake, fight a dirty fight? I mean, hit, hold, right? Take him to deep waters, bro. Then go for the kill. Yeah. But if he comes out with just trying to knock this guy's head off, yes, I think Jake Paul has a chance to land that long cross.
Yeah.
But
we'll see, man.
Let's see what the game plan is.
I think it's August 28th, so we're going to tune in to watch that, man.
Definitely.
Hey, man, it was great shooting this podcast with you, brother. I appreciate you, my friend. Okay? Hey, there's a lot to learn about these kids, and we'll see, man. It's an interesting world that we live in, right?
Yes, it is. Definitely is.
My man, appreciate you, brother.
Again. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
All right. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and leave a comment, share it with some people. Also, go ahead and leave a comment, and I'm going to be sending a T-shirt, a Driven Not Given T-shirt to one of our listeners. I appreciate you guys. And with that being said, I'll see you guys at the top or from the top. Take care.